Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahams Vividapachaya Hastatartha Sri Sri Malanitya Lila Bhavisnam His Divine Grace Shilabhai Charan Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj's BBD founder Jaya Jagaguru Padita Bhavana Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra Ki Jai the 49th anniversary of the installation of Krishna Balaram, Radhashama Sundar Lalita Vishaka Gorni Dai Krishna Balaram Mandir Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, presents the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, his appearance, and the 14-year banishment to the Dandakaranya forest, the kidnapping of Sita Devi by the evil demon Ravana, her rescue by Lord Ramachandra, Lakshman, and Hanuman helping, and the destruction of Ravana's kingdom in Sri Lanka, and then ultimately Lord Ramachandra being properly installed as the king Rajarishi of the entire world. Now, who here has read the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam? Raise their hand. So that means if you didn't raise your hand, that you haven't. Well, I have some very good news for you.
We're going to read it today.
Within that fact, the good news is there, just like when you are given a donut. No, you're given, I don't know what it's called, but on the inside, there's a surprise.
Cracker Jack box.
No, but like if you, there's like a filling inside. So the 5th canto has many different subject matters, but very, very interesting. There's 2 chapters: the island of Jambu Dweep, chapter 19, and chapter 18. The residents of Jambu Dweep offer prayers, and many great devotees of the Lord, they're offering their obeisances to the particular form of the Lord that was very special to them. And in many cases, that form of the Lord appeared just because of that devotee's devotional service. For example, Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Govinda, it's described that he's worshiping Lord Govinda, and Govinda is saving him from the treacheries of Hiranyakashipu and his henchmen. And that Govinda transformed into the Shringadev. And if my memory serves correctly, we will be able to observe that glorious occasion this year on the 22nd of May. That's coming up. And the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, that's Bali Maharaj, the Supreme Lord, the same Supreme Personality of God, had appeared as a dwarf Brahmin and begged 3 paces of land to the measurement of his steps, and in that tricky way took the entire universe in 2 steps and asking, where will I place my 3rd step, as thus promised and stipulated, and the answer given, you can place your lotus feet on my head. Thus proving Bali Maharaj to be completely surrendered and demonstrating Atma-nivedana, which is the 9th and final process of pure devotional service. So here, in the beginning of this chapter, the island of Jambudweep, verse 19, Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, in Kimpurusha Varsha, the great devotee Hanuman is always engaged with the inhabitants of that land in devotional service to Lord Ramachandra, the elder brother of Lakshman and dear husband of Sita Devi. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. This chanting is always extremely auspicious. Parama Kalyanim, most auspicious. Hanumanji and Aristasane, the chief person in Kimpurusha Varsha, constantly hear those glories with complete attention. Hanuman chants the following verses. So these 2 verses are the prelude to the particular prayer spoken by Hanuman. But here we have a purport where Prabhupada is saying, in the Puranas, there are 2 different opinions concerning Lord Ramachandra. In the Lagu Bhagavatamrita, Lagu Bhagavatamrita means small Bhagavatam. This is the presentation of Srila Rupa Goswami. This was done after the Brihad, great Bhagavatam, presented by his elder brother, Srila Sanatana Goswami. This is confirmed in the description of the incarnation of Manu. Prabhupada quotes the Sanskrit, the English translation. The Vishnu Dharmotara describes that Lord Ramachandra and his brothers Lakshman, Bharata, Canto 5, Chapter 19, but listening is better than an eye exercise, in my humble opinion. We're on verse 2. Describes that Lord Ramachandra and his brothers Lakshman, Bharata, and Sutrugna are incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, respectively. The Padma Purana, however, says that Lord Ramachandra is an incarnation of Narayan, and that the other 3 brothers are incarnations of Sesha, Chakra, and Sanka. Therefore, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan has concluded, Tad idam kalpa badnaiva sambhavyam. In other words, these opinions are not contradictory. And how are they not contradictory? In some millenniums, Lord Ramachandra and his brothers appear as incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, and in other millenniums they appear as incarnations of Narayan, Sesha, Chakra, and Sanka. That's also described that Krishna's pastimes, we have the narrations and the historical presentations of what Krishna did when he was present here 5,000 years ago, but the Shastras describe that when Krishna incarnates in other universes, he's not bound that it has to be a complete repeat, exactly the same. There could be changes and different nuances here and there, according to his own sweet will. The residence of Lord Ramachandra on this planet is Ayodhya. Ayodhya city is still existing in the district of Hyderabad, which is situated on the northern side of Uttar Pradesh. That's a different Hyderabad, that's in AP, Andhra Pradesh. Hadai Pran could tell us all about that because he's from there. Huh? Oh, good. So here is the mantra chanted by Hanuman. Om Namo Bhagavate Uttama Shlokaya Nama Arya Lakshana Shila Vartaya Nama Upisiksatamana Upasita Lokaya Nama Sadhu Vada Nikshanaya Namo Brahmanya Devaya Mahapurushaya Maharajaya Nama Iti. Let me please your lordship by chanting the Bija mantra Omkar. I wish to offer my respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, who is the best among the most highly elevated personalities. Your lordship is the reservoir of all good qualities of Aryans, people who are advanced. Your character and behavior are always consistent, and you always control your senses and mind. Acting just like an ordinary human being, you exhibit exemplary character to teach others how to behave. There is a touchstone that can be used to examine the quality of gold, but you are like a touchstone that can verify all good qualities. You are worshipped by Brahmins, or the foremost of all devotees. You, the Supreme Person, are the King of Kings, and therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Hanuman continues. The Lord, whose pure form, Satchit Ananda Vigraha, is uncontaminated by the modes of material nature, can be perceived by pure consciousness. In the Vedas, he is described as being one without a second. Because of his spiritual potency, he is untouched by the contamination of material nature. And because he is not subjected to material vision, he is known as transcendental. He has no material activities, nor has he a material form or name. Only in pure consciousness, Krishna consciousness, can one perceive the transcendental form of the Lord. Let us be firmly fixed at the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra, and let us offer our respectful obeisances unto those transcendental lotus feet. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna appears in various expansions as stated in the Brahma Samhita. So this particular verse specifically mentions Lord Ramachandra. Ramadi Murteshu Kala Niyamina Tishtan Nanavataram Akarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Parama Pumanyo Govindam Adi Pursham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, who is always situated in various incarnations such as Rama, Nrsimha, and many sub-incarnations as well, but who is the original personality of Godhead known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also. Maybe a foot or two. Krishna, who is Vishnu Tattva, has expanded himself in many Vishnu forms, of which Lord Ramachandra is one. We know that the Vishnu Tattva is carried by the transcendental bird Garuda, and is equipped with different types of weapons in 4 hands. Therefore, we may doubt whether Lord Ramachandra could be in the same category, since he was carried by Hanuman, not by Garuda. Interesting question, huh? And had neither 4 hands, nor the Sankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma. Consequently, this verse clarifies that Ramachandra is as good as Krishna. Lord Ramachandra specifically incarnated as a human being. But Lord Nrsimhadev is very nice. The lion, Matsya Avatar as the fish, Lord Varaha as the boar, Lord Ramachandra, the best of the human beings. Although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ramachandra is not different from him. Ramachandra is unaffected by the modes of material nature, and therefore he is prashant, never disturbed by those modes. Unless one is saturated with love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot appreciate the transcendental value of Lord Ramachandra. One cannot see him with material eyes. So this is the process that is being given by our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas whom Srila Prabhupada is the most preeminent representative, that from morning to night, every aspect of the program and instructions that Prabhupada is giving us are activities and thought saturated with love for Krishna. Because demons like Ravana have no spiritual vision, they consider Lord Ramachandra an ordinary Kshatriya king. Ravana therefore attempted to kidnap Lord Ramachandra's eternal consort, Sita Devi. Actually, however, Ravana could not carry off Sita Devi in her original form. As soon as she was touched by Ravana's hand, she gave him a material form, but she maintained her original form beyond his vision. Therefore, in this verse, the words Pratyak Prashantam indicate that Lord Ramachandra and his potency, the goddess Sita Devi, keep themselves aloof from the influence of the material energy. In the Upanishads it is said, Yam Evaisha Vinute Tena Labhya. The Supreme Lord Paramatma, the personality of Godhead, can be seen or perceived only by persons who are saturated with devotional service, as stated in the Brahma Samhita 538, very famous, I'm sure everyone knows. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hirdayesha Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunasvarupam Govindamadi Pursham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotees whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shama Sundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. Similarly, in the Chandogya Upanishad, it is stated, Etas Tishro Devata Anena Jivena. In this verse of the Chandogya Upanishad, the word Anena is used to distinguish the Atma and Paramatma as two separate identities. The words Tisho Devata indicate that the body of the living entity is made of three material elements, fire, earth, and water. Although the Paramatma enters the heart of the Jivatma, who is influenced and designated by a material body, the Paramatma has nothing to do with the Jivatma's body. Because the Paramatma has no material connections, he is described here as Anama Rupam Niraham. The Paramatma has no material identity, whereas the Jivatma does. The Jivatma may introduce himself as an Indian, American, German, and so on. But the Paramatma has no such material designations, and therefore he has no material name. The Jivatma is different from his name, but the Paramatma is not. His name and he himself are one and the same. This is the meaning of Niraham, which means without material designations. This word cannot possibly be twisted to mean that the Paramatma has no ahankar, no I-ness or identity. He has his transcendental identity as the Supreme. This explanation given by Srila Jiva Goswami, according to another interpretation given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Niraham means near nischayena aham. Niraham does not mean that the Supreme Lord has no identity. Rather, the stress given by the word aham proves strongly that he does have his personal identity, because nir not only means negative, but also means strong ascertainment. It was ordered that Ravana, the chief of the Rakshasas, cannot be killed by anyone but a man. And for this reason, Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared in the form of a human being. Interesting. This is the reason. So Ravana later became Hiranyakashipu and also tried to, slip and slide away from his inevitable comeuppance, not in the land, sea, or the sky, not in the day or the night, not inside or outside, not by any man, animal, or any creature created by Lord Vishnu. Did he miss anything else? What else? That is all. Not by any weapon, not by anything living or dead. So therefore, the Lord, to keep all that intact, in a sense, had to appear as Lord Nrsimhadev at the time and place when he did. This is why we touch the threshold when we come into the temple, because Lord Nrsimhadev appeared not inside or outside, but on the threshold. Lord Ramachandra's mission, however, was not only to kill Ravana, but also to teach mortal beings that material happiness centered around sex life or centered around one's wife is the cause of many miseries. He is the self-sufficient Supreme Personality of Godhead, and nothing is lamentable for him. Therefore, why else could he be subjected to tribulations by the kidnapping of Mother Sita Devi? So I don't think it's possible to read everything verbatim in the time allotted to us, even though we can maybe loosen our belts and go a little past 9 o'clock. Or tighten our belts because we're fasting. Let's see how much we can. And we also want to spend time. You see this picture on the back of Leelamrita Volume 5? The very famous commentary by the very dedicated to the Krishna Balaram Mandir project, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Dina Bandhu, describes this look of Srila Prabhupada when he's turning around, finishing the arti, waving the peacock fan. Full satisfaction in this picture. So we want to take a look at this 49th anniversary on this day. Very, very important and special. When the Lord appears in this universe in the form of a human being, he has two purposes. What are those two purposes? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashayatra duskritam, to destroy the demons and protect the devotees. To protect the devotees, the Lord not only satisfies them by his personal presence, but also teaches them so that they will not fall down from devotional service. By his personal example, Lord Ramachandra taught the devotees that it is better not to enter married life, which is certainly followed by many tribulations. As confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 7:9-45, this is Prahlad pacifies the Lord with prayers. Yan maitunadi grihamedi sukham hitucham kanduyananena karayor eva dukkha dukkam Chipyanti neha kripana bahuduka bhaja kandutivan manisijam vishaheta dira. Kripanas who are not advanced in devotional service and were therefore just the opposite of brahmanas generally take the family life, which is a concession for sex. Thus they enjoy sex again and again, although that sex is followed by many tribulations. This is a warning to devotees. To teach this lesson to devotees and to human society in general, Lord Sri Ramachandra, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, underwent a series of tribulations because he accepted a wife, Mother Sita. Lord Ramachandra underwent these austerities, of course, only to instruct us. Actually, he never has any reason to lament for anything. Another aspect of the Lord's instructions is that one who accepts a wife must be a faithful husband and give her full protection. Human society is divided into two classes of men, those who strictly follow the religious principles and those who are devotees. By his personal example, Lord Ramachandra wanted to instruct both of them how to fully adopt the discipline of the religious system and how to be a beloved and dutiful husband. Otherwise, he had no reason to undergo apparent tribulations. One who strictly follows religious principles must not neglect to provide all facilities for the complete protection of his wife. There may be some suffering because of this, but one must nevertheless endure it. That is the duty of a faithful husband. By his personal example, Lord Ramachandra demonstrated this duty. Lord Ramachandra could have produced hundreds and thousands of Sitas from his pleasure energy, but just to show the duty of a faithful wife, he not only rescued Sita from the hands of Ravana, but also killed Ravana and all the members of his family. attached to this example of Lord Ramachandra is the principle of Eka Patni Brata. He took a vow to only accept one wife, which was extraordinary at the time because polygamy in the Treta and Dwapara Yuga was quite prominent. Another aspect of the teachings of Lord Ramachandra is that although Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his devotees may apparently suffer from material tribulations, they have nothing to do with such tribulations. They are mukta purushas, liberated persons, under all circumstances. It is therefore said in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Yata Deka Vaishnavera Vyavahara Dukkha Nischaya Janiya Tata Paramananda Sukha. A Vaishnava is always firmly situated in transcendental bliss because of engagement in devotional service. Although he may appear to suffer material pains, his position is called transcendental bliss in separation, viraha. So here is the actual transcendental position of the so-called kidnapping of Sita Devi and the feelings in separation felt by Sita for Ramachandra and Ramachandra for Sita Devi until that rescue was effected. The emotions a lover and beloved feel when separated from one another are actually very blissful, although apparently painful. Therefore, the separation of Lord Ramachandra from Sita Devi, as well as the consequent tribulation they suffered, is but another display of transcendental bliss. That is the opinion of Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. Since Lord Sri Ramachandra is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva, he is not attached to anything in this material world. He is the most beloved supersoul of all self-realized souls, and he is their very intimate friend. He is full of all opulences. Therefore, he could not possibly have suffered because of separation from his wife, nor could he have given up his wife and Lakshman, his younger brother. To give up either would have been absolutely impossible. In defining the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we say that he is full in all six opulences: wealth, fame, strength, influence, beauty, and renunciation. He is called renounced because he is not attached to anything in this material world. He is specifically attached to the spiritual world and the living entities there. The affairs of the material world take place under the superintendence of Durga Devi. Shristi sti pralaya sadhana saktir eka chaveva yasya bhuvanani bibarti Durga. Everything is going on under the strict rules and regulations of the material energy represented by Durga. Therefore, the Lord is completely detached and need not give attention to the material world. Sita Devi belongs to the spiritual world. Similarly, Lord Lakshman, Ramachandra's younger brother, is a manifestation of Sankarshan, and Lord Ramachandra himself is Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the Lord is always spiritually qualified, he is attached to servants who always render transcendental loving service unto him. He's attached to the truth in life, not to Brahminical qualities. Indeed, he's never attached to any material qualities. Although he is the supersoul of all living entities, he is specifically manifest to those who are self-realized, and he's especially dear to the hearts of his transcendental devotees. So here's a good impetus why we should become self-realized. We should become self-realized so we can be recognized by the Lord. He is specifically manifest to those who are self-realized and dear to the hearts of his transcendental devotees. Because Lord Ramachandra descended to teach human society how dutiful a king should be, he apparently gave up the company of Mother Sita and Lakshman. Factually, however, he could not have given them up. One should therefore learn about the activities of Lord Ramachandra from a self-realized soul. Then one can understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. Now Hanuman, after very nicely glorifying Lord Ramachandra, he goes on, based on his own experience as a Kimpurusha, a monkey, half human, half monkey. One cannot establish a friendship with the Supreme Lord Ramachandra on the basis of material qualities such as one's birth in an aristocratic family, one's personal beauty, one's eloquence, one's sharp intelligence, or one's superior race or nation. So we have the opportunity to see so many people who fancy themselves to have all of this prancing and parading around, but their relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is most conspicuous by its 100% absence. Personal beauty, eloquence, sharp intelligence, one's superior race or nation. None of these qualifications is actually a prerequisite for friendship with Lord Sri Ramachandra. Otherwise, how is it possible, although that we, uncivilized inhabitants of the forest, have not taken noble births, although we have no physical beauty, and although we cannot speak like gentlemen? Have we ever seen monkeys in Vrindavan speak like gentlemen?
No.
We see them steal cell phones and climb up at a height 20, 30 feet above in the street and taunt us until they get enough mango fruities and bananas and whatever else. Then maybe they'll drop it down and maybe it'll still work, but we'll have to get a new screen because it broke. And although we cannot speak like gentlemen, Lord Ramachandra has nevertheless accepted us as friends. So in this purport, Prabhupada quotes this amazing section from the Chaitanya Bhagavat in regards to Kolavechar Sridhar. Here is the English translation. Behold the great fortune of the devotee Kolavechar. Now everyone knows Kolavechar Sridhar he was very, very poor and was trying to maintain himself by selling banana leaf plates, cups, and would insist on spending 50% of his income on the worship of Mother Ganges. So he's living under a thatched, in a little cottage, and the roof is leaking. He only has an iron pot. This place is just a few yards outside in the field from the Jagannath temple, and that place is called Rajpur, somewhat like a mile or two. If you go out the front gate of the Mayapur, the main front gate, make a right and go 2 or 3 miles. It's just past the Chandkazi Samadhi. Behold the great fortune of and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, his and disciples created a memorial there, which I think is still there. No? Fell into disrepair.
Oh, there's something called Vijayashvara.
Yeah. I think there's even at the plaque describing the year of inscription.
Big tree.
Right. Behold the great fortune of the devotee Kolavechar. Lord Brahma and Shiva shed tears upon seeing his grace. He was the most opulent, most powerful demigods. One cannot attain Lord Krishna by any amount of wealth, followers, or learning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is controlled only by pure devotion. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a very sincere devotee whose name was Kolavechar Sridhar, whose only business was to sell pots made of the skin of banana trees. Whatever income he had, he used 50% for the worship of Mother Ganges, and with the other 50% he provided for his necessities. On the whole, he was so very poor that he lived in a cottage that had a broken roof with many holes in it. He could not afford brass utensils, and therefore he drank water from an iron pot. Nevertheless, he was a great devotee of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is a typical example of how a poor man with no material possessions can become a most exalted devotee of the Lord. The conclusion is that one cannot attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Goswami through material opulence. That shelter is attainable only by pure devotional service. One should render trans-loving service to Supreme Lord Krishna favorably without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. So this is why Hanuman is so much glorified. He is, let's say, the representative hero for all the underdogs, for all the people who don't have all the great opulence and fame and bodily beauty and aristocratic situation. And even Prabhupada would sometimes, in a loving way, in a kind of humorous way, equate all of us Western disciples coming from the land of the Malechas and Yavanas as that he is Lord Ramachandra and he is given an army of monkeys to defeat the demons. So we have an army of monkeys marching on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya to defeat the modern day demons. So we should be very proud and feel very much glad to be a monkey for Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, whether one is a demigod or a demon, a man or a creature other than man, such as a beast or bird, everyone should worship Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears on this earth just like a human being. There is no need of great austerities or penances to worship the Lord, for he accepts even a small service offered by his devotee. Thus he is satisfied, and as soon as he is satisfied, the devotee is successful. Indeed, Lord Sri Ramachandra brought all the devotees of Ayodhya back home, back to Godhead, Vaikuntha. And this is the purport where Prabhupada is describing Lord Ramachandra, Lord Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya especially, who brought all the devotees back home, back to Godhead. And the best purpose of human life can be fulfilled by worshiping the Sadbhurj Murti, the form of the Lord with 6 arms, 2 arms of Ramachandra, 2 arms of Krishna, and 2 arms of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That ends the section of Hanuman's prayers. So what time is it? 8:45. Good. So, Srila Prabhupada's Leela Amrita. Let's see where this is. So today is the 15th, yes? Today's the 16th. Well, what do you know about that? 1975, April 16th. When Srila Prabhupada arrived to finally conduct the Krishna Balaram Mandir opening, he was pleasantly surprised to see the 3 tall domes rising over the temple. The domes have been constructed entirely during the 8 months since his last visit. The 4-story international guest house had also been completely built during his absence. Surabi had supervised workers in day and night shifts to get everything done on time. The tall central dome and 2 side domes, one over each altar, were magnificent. Their graceful form led the mind to higher thoughts and suggested an existence beyond the material world. The strength and beauty of the domes reminded one that beneath resided the deity of the Supreme Lord. A temple was to enlighten people, to remove their nescience. And the domes eloquently spoke of this purpose. They could be seen for miles, rising boldly above the landscape of Vrindavan, proclaiming the worship of Krishna and Balaram. Each dome was topped by a copper kalas consisting of 3 balls representing the lower, middle, and higher planets, and at the top, the eternal Sudarshan Chakra, the spinning wheel weapon of Lord Vishnu. The Sudarshan Chakra was Krishna himself, and just to see this glorious symbol atop the mandir made the devotees feel victorious and satisfied. Even the guests could not help but regard it with awe. Atop the Sudarshan Chakras were copper victory flags. As Prabhupada toured the completed building, he continually looked up at the domes. Oh, he said, the domes have come out very nice. What do you think? He turned to the devotees accompanying him. They are magnificent, said Hamsadutta. Yes, Prabhupada said, Tamal Krishna Goswami. I think that Surabi has done a nice job. Yes, Prabhupada smiled. Everyone is telling how nice Surabi is doing. Prabhupada turned to Surabi, who had gone with little sleep for weeks. But I can't say that. Only me. I am criticizing you because that is my job. I have to always criticize the disciple. No less than 600 devotees from ISKCON centers around the world had come to Vrindavan as part of the annual Indian pilgrimage. The high point was to be the installation of the deities and the opening of the temple. Final preparations were going furiously, cleanups, decorations, cooking. So if you look at ISKCON Vrindavan website or YouTube channel, they have a 2 or 3 day festival, and one of the most wonderful parts of the festival commemorating the opening anniversary is devotees who were there describing their remembrances of the opening of the temple. So that is very nice listening. We're recommending that. You can find that, ISKCON Vrindavan, YouTube. Furiously, cleanups, decorations, cooking. Many important life members and guests had come and were staying in their private rooms in the 40-room guest house. Prabhupada's vision had finally come to pass. He had created probably the most beautiful and opulent temple in Vrindavan, certainly the one most alive with dynamic devotion and preaching spirit. And along with it, he had built one of the best local hotels for visitors with an eye for Krishna Bhakti. So it's a common realization that Prabhupada upped the ante in Vrindavan, that the standard of temple worship, the standard of cleanliness and how beautifully the deities were being taken care of, and particularly and especially vibrant Harinam Sankirtan going on in the temple has more or less forced everyone else in Vrindavan who are proprietors of temples to, as best that they possibly can, come to a higher standard. And what was once a very isolated, and even in the realization of some of the first devotees going there, you can read in Shama Sundar's Chasing Rhinos, practically abandoned temples in Vrindavan city has now become what it is today. And this is because of Prabhupada's pure devotional service and his preaching, as we want to make, Prabhupada said, what is the symptom of one who loves God, one who loves Krishna? That he'll want his Lord's name and fame to be spread all over the world and all over the universe. So Krishna and his holy name and his holy Dham are all non-different. So for devotees to become victims of their own success, in the sense that their preaching becomes so big that it becomes difficult to handle, is not such a bad thing. Just like mundane thing, like a poor man becomes very rich. Now he has a new problem, how to deal with the money. Of course, that's a mundane thing, and there's like statistics how poor people win the lottery and their whole life is ruined and some disaster comes. But one time, Prabhupada was asked, Swamiji, if I gave you $1 million right now, what would you do with it? And Prabhupada said, oh, that's very easy. I would open temples and I would print books. And then you can give me another $1 million tomorrow, and I'll do it again. Everything for Krishna. Touring the grounds, Prabhupada walked into the sunken courtyard, which is perfectly made to have boat festival. Fill the sunken courtyard with water. Its marble floor clean and dazzling. This was no rented house in America, something built for another purpose. It was a temple, like the temples in Vaikuntha, described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is heaven on earth, Prabhupada said. I think it surpasses all the temples in India. Prabhupada stood smiling before the tamal tree, its venerable branches spread throughout one corner of the courtyard, and he recounted how there had been a discussion of cutting it down, and he had prevented it. Tamal trees are associated with the pastimes of Srimati Radharani and are very rare. In Vrindavan, there were perhaps only 3, one here, one at Sevakunj, and one in the courtyard of the Radha Damodar temple. That the tamal tree was growing so luxuriantly, Prabhupada said, indicated that the devotees were performing genuine bhakti. Convinced that the temple was actually ready, Prabhupada entered his residence just between the temple and the guest house. Many details demanded his attention, and many visiting disciples were present. Thus, in Rama Navami, in a place where there was no temple, a pure devotee desired. Let there be a temple and seva, devotional service, and what had once been an empty lot was now a place of pilgrimage. Such is the power of the desires of the pure devotee. So that's an excerpt from purport in the final chapter that Prabhupada translated, the 13th chapter of the 10th canto, in regards to the calves and cowherd boys that were actually Krishna himself, that were stolen. The original calves and cows were stolen by Lord Brahma, but Krishna created duplicates of all the calves and cowherd boys with their exact natures, mannerisms, unique personality traits, idiosyncrasies, as you might say, but they were actually all himself. And Lord Brahma was bewildered. Brahma Vimohan Leela, what is this? And Krishna mystified him by transforming what has all the calves and into four-handed Vishnu forms. And it's described that their glancing of these Vishnu forms was very auspicious. It protected their devotees from lust and material desire, and further created ever new variegated desires in pure loving devotional service. So Prabhupada relates that the desire of a devotee, let there be a temple, and in a place there was no temple, and seva, what was once an empty corner, has now become a transcendental place of pilgrimage. So a devotee looks upon this material world and sees how everything can be engaged in the Lord's service, and this hell of pandemonium can be transformed into the spiritual world under the vision and direction of such a high caliber pure devotee as Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, epilogue, would often say of his devotional service in India, Vrindavan is my residence, Bombay is my office, and Mayapur is where I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bombay is the biggest commercial city, many life members, etc. Mayapur, Prabhupada said, is where I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Yuga Avatar, the Yuga Dharma, the how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this age, that is the worship of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada conceived of a temple to be built in Mayapur that would be the greatest of all temples in his movement. He and his devotees would worship the Supreme Lord there in such a magnificent style that the whole world would be attracted to Prabhupada's place of worship. So the worship of Lord Chaitanya via his Yuga Dharma includes all other processes of worship in any other time, yuga, or place. That is how glorious is the Yuga Dharma. According to the Srimad Bhagavatam, the prescribed worship for this age is Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy names of God. Sankirtan worship emanated from Mayapur, the original Dham of Lord Chaitanya, in the age of Kali, states Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna appears in a golden form, and those with sufficient intelligence will worship him as Lord Chaitanya. Srila Prabhupada wanted to make the most wonderful worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his birthplace, and thus completely fulfill the predictions of the previous acharyas, and foresaw a great Vedic city rising from the plains of Navadvip. Mayapur could also be considered Prabhupada's place of worship because his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, had preached extensively there, and because his samadhi was there. Since Srila Prabhupada's entire preaching mission was in the service of his spiritual master, he worshipped his spiritual master through preaching in Mayapur. Mayapur was the origin and symbol of preaching Krishna consciousness, because there Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda actually began the Sankirtan movement that Prabhupada was now carrying all over the world. So we should always keep in mind that we're assisting the spiritual master. This is Srila Prabhupada continuing to preach and spread Krishna consciousness, in our case, in New York City. So all our activities are extending Prabhupada's ability to expand the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to preach the Sankirtan movement of love of Krishna throughout the entire world, and therefore, during his presence, he inspired the Sankirtan movement. Specifically, he sent Rupa Goswami to Vrindavan and Nityananda to Bengal, and personally went to South India. In this way, he kindly left the task of preaching his cult in the rest of the world to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Vrindavan is Prabhupada's residence. Religious people in India, as well as religious scholars in the West, saw Prabhupada as a Vaishnava sadhu from Vrindavan. When he began his preaching in New York City, he would often introduce himself as coming from Vrindavan. Here I am now sitting in New York, he once said, the world's greatest city, but my heart is always hankering after that Vrindavan. I shall be very happy to return to my Vrindavan, that sacred place. Prabhupada spoke those words at 100 West 72nd Street, 1 block from Central Park on the Upper West Side. In the late winter of 1966. The people of Vrindavan also thought of Prabhupada as their hometown success. Upon retiring from family life in 1954, Prabhupada had gone to live in Vrindavan, first at a temple near Keshi Ghat, and then at the Radha Damodar temple. After taking sannyas in 1959, he had continued to reside in Vrindavan, and when not living there, to reserve his 2 rooms at Radha Damodar. Vrindavan is the home of Krishna consciousness, the place of Krishna's childhood pastimes, the place where the 6 Goswamis sent by Lord Chaitanya had excavated holy places, written transcendental literature, and built temples. Any devotee could feel at home there, and thousands of Vrindavan's residents carried bead bags, chanted Hare Krishna, and wore the Vaishnava tilak and dress. Vrindavan belonged to Radha and Krishna, and this was still acknowledged by the residents of the present-day Vrindavan. Ultimately, Vrindavan is revealed only to the pure devotee. Vrindavan is the eternal residence of all spiritual souls and their eternal relationship with Krishna. The Vrindavan in India is a transcendental replica of Goloka Vrindavan, the eternal planet where Krishna resides in the spiritual world. The pure devotees aspire to attain Goloka Vrindavan after finishing their life in this world, and Prabhupada, therefore, as a pure devotee of Krishna, naturally felt at home in Vrindavan. He sometimes said that if he were to become very ill, he would prefer not to go to a hospital, but to simply go to Vrindavan and there pass his last days. To spread the glories of Vrindavan, Prabhupada had left Vrindavan, but like a traveler away from home, he always thought of returning. So this is a very glorious day, the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra, and especially for us, Prabhupada is establishing the Krishna Balaram Mandir, the fulfillment of his personal wish, which he even enunciated very early on, to make an American house for my disciples in Vrindavan. So we have a very intimate relationship with the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan. This is our home in Vrindavan. Narottam Das Thakur, he warns us about the present position of Vrindavan, that many unauthorized and unscrupulous persons are there for ulterior purposes, and unless one is under the guidance and shelter of an actual bona fide pure devotee, one can become bewildered in Vrindavan. So, in a sense, it's high-stakes gambling. We can win very big, or we can lose very badly. So Srila Prabhupada is our protector and our guide. He is the ultimate Dham guide, and he has assured us that we will reach the real Goloka Vrindavan by fully dedicating our life to his preaching mission and not try to prematurely jump up to a position that we're most unqualified and unauthorized to be on, and to humbly serve the mission of Vrindavan's pure devotee, himself, Srila Prabhupada, and our actual bona fide and proper entrance into the plane of Vrindavan under his guidance is 100% and more guaranteed. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki jai. Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Gornitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.